Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kevin Bryant, also known as Yes, Kevin Said It. And we are on Kev Talks, and we are talking today with lyricist producer D.Y. McDaniel. He has an interesting concept that we're going to talk about today. We're talking about suicide. And Mr. McDaniel, let us know just about exactly what your project is, and we'll talk about the song. We'll talk about all that because I know it's entitled Choosing Life. Am I correct?
Yes, yes. Well, well. First, thanks, Kevin, for having me on the show today. The project is called Choose Life, and it's an anti-suicide song. And it's a project that was very personal to me, very important to me because I guess a couple years ago, a close friend and mentor committed suicide, and that was my unfortunate introduction to the topic because I got to tell you, I'm a pretty comfortable guy in my own skin and with life in general. But to have someone commit suicide and take their own life, that really threw me off. Just because it's just something I had difficulty getting my head around. And so that was my introduction to the unfortunate topic. And I started looking into it and researching it, just trying to understand it and just trying to help my own self process it. And then as I learned more about it, it scared me more and more as a parent of two young kids to find out that the leading cause of death up until this year, up until 2022, the leading cause of death for kids in this country had been suicide over like the
Wow.
last 20 years. And that terrified me as a parent. It terrified me. It concerned me as a human being, but it terrified me as a parent. And so with that, when the former Miss USA, Miss Chelsea Christ, um, when she committed suicide earlier this year in New York City, that just triggered me. And I read the article and I immediately sat down and I wrote the song. And this song only took me about 45 minutes to write. So it just fell into place so incredibly easily because
Mm.
I, for whatever reason, and I think it was divine intervention to be perfectly honest with you, uh, I felt that I needed to do something to address this topic. And as a producer and as a lyricist, I guess it was just only natural for me to do a song about it. And so
Mhm.
I decided to do a song that was very upbeat, that is very catchy. You'll shake to it and you'll feel it, even if you're not listening to the words. But if you are
Right.
listening to the words, it has some very important messages to it.
I did hear the song actually,
Oh,
and I thought it was very unique that you decided to do a female artist version and a male artist version.
yes, yes.
So let's talk about that because that I've never really seen before.
You know what? The reason I did it that way, the the female version came first, and I think she blew it out of the water. But the whole concept of suicide is, or one of the leading causes, or one of the facts, I guess, associated with suicide when you talk to people is that they felt so alone that
Mhm.
they didn't feel that they could talk to anyone, that they could relate to folks, and so on and so forth. And so, to the extent that I could minimize that and make it as relatable to as many people as possible, I felt
Mhm.
that having a female version would might help females. A male version, assuming that guys would feel more comfortable hearing this sort of a message from a guy, um, so we did a male version. So that's really the thing behind it because at the end of the day, I just want people to hear the song, and I hope that it helps people who are in crises. So
Right. I noticed too that what inspired you more so to even well first let's talk about your history. Um let's let's talk about that. You're a producer, correct? How did you get your start?
oh, like most guys in the music industry, it was because of girls. It, you know, one female in particular. The first song I ever wrote was really just trying to get an ex girlfriend back. So that was my start, and I was really fortunate to have some friends that were in the music industry who uh, they helped me take what started out as a poem and they helped me turn it into a song, and then they brought that song to life for me. So that was really my start. And once I got into the studio, I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever been in any environment where I felt so at home. And so it was like, wow, every once in a while you just get really lucky, if you're lucky,
If you're lucky, yeah.
and you find your place. The studio felt like my place.
Hmm.
So
Did you did you have any idea that you would be doing something like this, as far as like something that's going towards something so uh, what is the word uh, that creates you to be such a philanthropist or an activist to a degree?
uh, well, definitely not at the start. Absolutely not at the start. And truthfully, I don't. I appreciate you calling me a philanthropist or an activist. I do appreciate that, and I will wear those titles with honor and distinction, quite frankly. So thank you. But I'm not necessarily sure that I see myself that way.
Hmm.
Um, I'm a music producer. I'm a lyricist. I love making songs, but I'm also a member of society. And so, in my way, I want to try and help make society a better place for myself and more importantly for my kids. So, so to the extent, I mean, this is probably my second message song. Um, the first one, the first message song was actually in 2020. I wrote a song called Vote for, yeah, it was a Get Out the Vote anthem.
Mm.
And uh, the someone on Beyonce's team heard the song and they really liked it. And for a minute, it looked like they were considering putting it out. It ultimately did not happen. I ended up putting out a video myself, but it was really just a call to action, just like get out and vote. And I made it a point to be apolitical. So I didn't take one party over the other one, even though I have my own personal biases. But I just really wanted folks to get out there and vote.
Right.
So
Wow. It seemed like get out and vote would have worked really well now too.
you know what? It's funny. I got a call from a friend of mine down in Georgia about a week ago, and he referenced it. He was like, "Hey, are you planning on coming down here and doing something? Because you cats are out of Atlanta right now.
Yes.
So yeah, y'all had a really big election or runoff election just the other day. So
Yes.
yeah, that had to be pretty interesting down there. So
It actually was pretty interesting. The thing is that um, from my perspective that we try to battle is okay. A lot of people come out and vote, but when they have to come out and vote, that's when they show up. But if they
yes.
show up before then, we don't have to do things like these big runoffs like that. But it was just amazing to me. Like I thought everybody would come out and vote early in the regular sense of voting, but then when we had the runoff, it was packed every day. And I'm like, it takes you to have a sense of losing something to really
Absolutely.
go out there and do something. And I think we need to change that narrative. You know,
You know what? I agree with you 100%. Um, we as a community, I mean, historically, a lot of us felt that voting wasn't important because it wasn't relevant to us personally, and so on and so
right?
forth. And I think at least, and I'm not a voting historian or anything, so I may be 100% wrong, but it felt to me like the first time we really started turning out was for
Obama.
Obama, for
Yep.
Obama. And my own personal story with that one. Um, my oldest child was born on the day that Barack was elected in his first election, and you know the I remember I was in the delivery room, and as soon as basically as soon as the baby was there and so on and so forth, I went running out of the hospital to run back to the election spot so I could make sure that I voted. Um, So yeah, I mean, as a people, I think that's when it started getting really, really, because let's be honest. I mean, I voted on a regular basis since I was able to vote, but had it not been Barack that day,
Hmm.
I'm fairly comfortable saying that that's one election I think I would have missed, given the
Mm.
birth of my first child and everything. But it was Barack. I had to be there because you know it was our
Yeah,
turn.
I think that was a historical moment for all of us, and
Absolutely.
we need more of those. We need more of
Yes.
those historical moments.
Well,
But
to your
something
point,
has
we
been
got to get out there and do it on a regular basis where it's not that big a deal. Where it's, yeah,
exactly.
I agree with you 100%.
Someone is asking, where do we get to hear your music? I guess someone
Oh,
wants to listen to.
oh, well, definitely, definitely. Let's see. So it's on SoundCloud
Hmm.
at DY McDaniel 16. So the name on the screen, it's there. It's on YouTube. In fact, we put out a really, really great video.
I saw that.
Oh,
As a matter of
yeah,
fact, everyone, the video is absolutely wonderful. Let's talk
thank you.
about that
Thank
video
you.
too. Like, who directed that?
Oh, that was a brother here in New York. Um, oh, it's King 65 out of New York. He's a really good brother, very talented, and uh, he was he and I were put together through my publicist, Angelo Ellsby. Shout out to Angelo.
Shout out to Angelo Ellaby, Double Exposure, and Kevin Goins.
Absolutely,
They are
absolutely. Kevin's
amazing.
my dude. Kevin's
Yeah,
my dude. So shout out to both of them. And so they actually put me together with them. So and I think he did a fabulous job on that video.
it was really
So
really nice.
yes,
And I want to say this too. I want to discuss this with you. Choosing life.
yes.
You know, the world is kind of crazy right now. So how would you explain how? Well, how will you help somebody understand that choosing life is the best choice?
Well, the it. Well, first, again, I can't say this enough. I mean, I've written hundreds of songs, but Choose Life is really a song that I think was divinely inspired in that the words are all very purposeful and they came together and they flowed properly and so on and so forth. And so, specifically to your question, um, in the song it says, "Don't you don't put a permanent solution on a temporary problem."
Hmm.
So that's one way, because that's what suicide is. I mean, that's the hook of the song, quite frankly. Um, the we also talk about in the song the second verse is all about like online bullying, and in the this is not quite as lyrical as I'm saying it right now, but it's essentially you know um, don't harm yourself over things said by people who won't even give you their real names.
Right.
Um, so that's there. Um, Talk to your friends and family when you're in need. I mean, all of these are lines and messages from the song. Then nearer to the end of the song, it it says you know you will get more out of life than suicide will ever bring.
Hmm.
So, in all those ways, we're talking specifically about, you know, choosing life. And I think that's incredibly important, especially when you're talking about kids. I mean, me as a father, and there's really no way to divorce me being a dad from me being a lyricist in regards to this song. Um,
Right.
I think you know, it's inconceivable to me that children are killing themselves. I mean, that's so alien to me. Like as I said, I have two daughters. One's 10, the other one's 14. When I was 10 and 14, I'm outside playing football and
Right.
basketball. You know, I'm having like crushes on girls and fighting with my friends and doing whatever stuff that kids are supposed to be doing, getting yelled at by my mom. Um, and maybe it's naive to say this, but that's what I think kids should be doing. That's like age appropriate stuff, 10 and 14. Not sitting around contemplating how you're going to end your own life because you haven't lived it yet. you haven't experienced anything yet. I mean, you know, that that to me is why this song is so important that people hear it. I mean, this song was constructed
Hmm.
as an up tempo song. I didn't want to do like some slow funeral dirge or something like
Right.
that. I really intended for this song to be an upbeat song, and if you're not listening to the words, you'll sit there and you'll feel it a little bit. It's like, okay, yeah, all right, this is kind of cool. But if you listen to the words, there's really a deeper meaning there. And my point and my purpose here is or was to create a song that is impactful and a song that can help start conversations, help normalize this topic a little bit so people don't feel that they have to, suffer in silence. Hopefully this song will get people to just bring up the topic and help normalize the topic, let's say.
Well, I definitely think the song helps, but I
Okay.
think like in a deeper way, when we talk about what goes on in the world, like what are some of the things that we think that can help? Because sometimes when you're saying, choose life and you're giving hope to people that are contemplating suicide or have suicidal thoughts or whatever. But how do we start to change the way we think? Because sometimes it looks a little hopeless in this world right now.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, what was it? Maybe it was Confucius or something that said, the a trip of 1,000 miles starts with the first step.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that to the extent that it can be, I'm hoping that the song "Choose Life" may be that first step, and maybe the first step is starting to understand that you're not alone when you're distressed and you're going through those dark periods. Maybe the first step is being able to talk to someone, like
Right.
the lyric, talk to your friends and family when you're in need. So being able to talk to someone, being able to understand that you're not the only person going through this and that you shouldn't feel bad or ashamed to understand that you are struggling. I mean,
Right.
you said it, man. You said it yourself. The world is a bit of a crazy place right now.
Hmm.
So I don't think as a human being, I don't think that people having some difficulties or having some struggles um, is so far out of line given the things that we're being bombarded with. I mean, any given day you can turn on a TV or a podcast or whatever and see, you know, um, you know, children being massacred in schools, um, people being human trafficked, all sorts of drugs and issues coming from that, communities being destroyed, um, old people being put in the street. Hey, COVID, people, dying almost seemingly random. I mean, there's a lot going on in this world right now.
Right.
So yeah, nah, I don't think that anyone should feel ashamed to say, hey, I'm struggling. I need to talk about some things. I don't understand why I feel this way. So, and to the point that we can normalize that, that's your first step. Just, ultimate goal, I would love to see mental illness, especially like within our community where there's such a big stigma about it. I would love to see mental illness be talked about almost like it's the common cold. Like so people would feel comfortable enough to say, "Yo, you know what? I'm not feeling great. I gotta go do something so I can feel better."
See, that's the great thing that you mentioned also. You said in our community. Like for some reason, like in our community, we feel like it's sacrilegious or Satanist to see a therapist.
You, you know what? I'm so glad that you said it exactly the way you said it, because yes, there has always been a stigma in the black community. Um, but here's two funny points that I think this is funny. Number one, black folks have always gone to see therapists. Here's the thing though, we called it church. Whenever we needed to talk to somebody, we went to church. We went and talked to the pastor. We went and talked to the deacon, the deaconess, the somebody, the matron of whatever committee. So we've always gone to talk to people because in our culture, community is such a big part of our culture.
Mhm.
So we've always talked to people. The thing about going to see a therapist, though, is now you're going to go see a therapist, somebody who's specifically trained to be able to help you. Number one. Number two, who may not have their who or is not supposed to bring in their own baggage, their own history, and so on and so forth. So they're not predisposed to tell you, well, you should be doing this, that, and the third. You know,
Right.
they're able to help you focus on your issues without bringing in their baggage. So we've always gone to therapy. I now think we just need to sort of shift it a little bit and go to the professionals. And that's not the that's not throwing shade on any of the people in church. I'm just saying, it might be you might be a little better served to go in that direction. That's
I,
number
I
one.
I totally agree with you. And since we're talking about church, I'm glad we even got into that department because this is a part of it.
Absolutely.
The church is supposed to be there to help us, and I hope my church is listening. Shout out to my church,
Oh,
Family
absolutely.
Missionary Baptist Church here in Fayetteville, Georgia. I hope y'all listening because it's an issue for me with the modern day church. And I think a lot of times when we do have people that want to commit suicide, they fear going to the church because the church judge them. The
Yes.
church will sit up in a sermon and the pastor is talking about stuff that's very much affecting on somebody that's sitting right there, but they speak about it as if it's something that that they're not even supposed to be walking through the doors of the church. And they make a person feel like that. So a person feels like, no, I can't go here. So then they go back and they're even more depressed. Then they want to kill themselves even more. Then the church, let's talk about money. Let's talk about how many times they're asking for money for this, money for that. Then you got to pay tithes. Then you got to do this. Then they want your time. That's enough to make you commit suicide. Really, it is.
Well,
I think I go to church to get away from the world so that I can see some sort of relief or resolve or solution. But if I go to church and it reminds me of everything I'm going through in the world, where do you go?
well, see, you go to therapy, and the reason is, and you used exactly the right word. Um, so many people feel judged when they go to church, um, and that's I don't think it's intentional. Let me be clear. Again, I'm not throwing shade at any churches at all. Um, but the whole point of going to a therapist is they don't have an agenda, whether it's a religious agenda or a political agenda
True.
or whatever type of agenda. They're there. They've been specifically trained so they can talk to you and help you understand the challenges that you are going through, and hopefully help you figure out some solutions. Now, I will candidly say, you know, I go to my therapist, you know, once every 2 weeks, and I consider it like, preventative maintenance, what you do on your car. And the reason I do that is because, and I started therapy many, many years ago when I went through a period where I lost my mom, I lost my grandmother, I lost my grandfather, and my dad, all within a very, very short period of time. And
Wow.
I was always a hyper type A personality. So, and all of a sudden I just felt tired all the time. And eventually someone suggested to me, yo, well, maybe you should go see someone. And thank God I listened. And the therapist, you know, after a few weeks, I asked him, I was like, I don't get it. Why, I've always been this type of person and now I'm over here. And the therapist said, because, you've had an amazing amount of loss in a very short period of time. This is why you are feeling this way. And it seems kind of simplistic to say that, but
Mhm.
at that moment, it felt like the clouds parted and I was all of a sudden able to start seeing the sun again. And I was
Right.
um I was like, wow, okay, that was the first revelation. And the second And this is he said it to me back then, and I confirmed it after my friend's suicide. The single most prescribed category of drugs in this country is for mental health reasons. It's
Mm.
not more pills are handed out in this country day over day, month over month, year over year for mental health reasons than anything else. Not diabetes, not cancer drugs, not whatever other drugs. Mental health. They're prescribing more pills every day, every month, every year in this country for mental health reasons. And that speaks to how big the problem is, number one. But it should also, anyone who's going through some things, I think that's helpful information, because you can't possibly be alone if that's the single biggest source of prescriptions in this country. You
Mm.
can't possibly be alone. So this is a huge problem. And because it's such a big problem, we shouldn't feel bad about talking about it.
Right.
And let's be clear. Let's be 100% clear. Let's be 100% clear. When people are self-medicating through drugs and alcohol and so on and so forth, part of the reason they're doing that is because they're feeling something. They're trying not to feel what they're feeling.
Mm.
That's exactly what we're talking about here. That's
Mhm.
exactly what we're talking about. And so, these are all things that we should talk about um, as a community, number one. And I don't think therapy is a bad thing. Around the same period of time that, like I say, when I was losing my family members and a friend of mine suggested I go see someone, at first I resisted. I did. Um, but the I think the thing that really flipped the switch for me was I read some article about it was like athletes, where they were sending athletes to therapists.
Mm.
Like one year somebody's hitting 325, and the next year they can't hit a curveball.
Right.
And it was like, oh, okay, it's something going on in their heads. So they sent them to therapy. Next thing you know, they're the batting champion again. Or you were you shooting like 40-something% from behind the 3-point line. Next year you can't make a layup. They send you to a
Right.
sports therapist. Well, I was like, well, look, man, if it's good enough for all those high paid athletes, I I'll give it a shot. And it worked. So
Yeah.
no, there's no stigma to going to see someone. If I mean, it's honestly, we should put it under the same category as the common cold. It's
Mhm.
probably even more common than the common cold.
It actually is. I think all black people need to go to therapy. You'll be amazed at the awakening that you get. Um, my experience with therapy has helped me a lot, helped me grow, and I would suggest it for anyone because we don't know what we don't know. So that's the whole thing. And a lot of people, we're supposed to be strong, and we ain't supposed to show our weaknesses or vulnerabilities or anything like that. So no, we don't need therapy because we're not crazy. Well, therapy actually prevents you from being crazy, from becoming crazy.
Exactly. That's the thing.
Preventative care. That we should call it that. That's exactly what it is,
It
and,
is.
and that's how we could prevent a whole lot of suicides. You know,
Yes.
and remember back in the day when music was so big on um, uh, helping people think and be mentally present and
Mhm.
it was like it was therapy. Music used to be therapy back in the day. Now I can't say it's positive therapy
Yeah.
because the stuff we hear, uh, the things that are said, the things they think about, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like we're just losing all of our emotional and social skills to digital type presence. Like we have emojis now that replace emotions. Like you can actually text how you feel. How can you feel what you're feeling in a text?
That's a good
And
point.
and I
That's
tell
a
everyone, I
good point.
said, I have to talk to you because you can tell me something and I'm only gonna receive the words in how my present emotion is. So if I'm having a bad day and you're telling me something, I'm going to respond the way I feel. So I need to hear you because it's frequencies, and those are the things that help us, especially if we're going through depression. You know,
Yes.
I myself was diagnosed with major depressive disorder, and how do I know that had I not gone to therapy, that would have drove me to suicide?
Unfortunately, that is quite possible, brother. I mean,
Mhm,
listen, um, without turning this conversation overly political, let's just be blunt. Let's just be blunt though. Black people in this country have gone through, continue to go through, and will continue to go through things that would push any sane person to the brink of needing therapy. I mean, come on. Let's just be honest about that. I don't care who you are. A friend of mine, uh, the ex attorney general, Eric Holder, right?
mhm,
He's a friend of a friend. And my friend was telling me one day that Eric Holder, I guess, has like a couple of sons or something. So while he's the sitting attorney general of this country, which is technically the top law enforcement officer in this country, he had set his sons down and taught them how to interact with the police for fear that one day they could say or do something that might, get them harmed by the police. Now, again, before I start getting letters and stuff like that, I'm not trying to throw shade on the police officers. You know, most are probably very good, well meaning, and so on and so forth. And then you got a few bad apples. But
mhm,
that's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is when you have the top law enforcement officer in the country feel the need to have to tell his children how to walk, talk, and conduct themselves so they are not harmed by the police, you know that we're living in a interesting situation as Black folks in this country. Well, we deal with that emotional trauma every single day, every single day. And you know that's a heavy weight to carry. So like we walk into situations, and let's just be honest, you walk into a store and someone immediately runs up to you and goes, hey, can I help you? You don't think, oh, this is good customer service. You think, oh, see, you're doing that because I'm Black, and you think I'm here to steal or whatever. That's an emotional trauma that we carry. Or when we go into a situation, and like we look at our schools, for example, in a lot of Black communities, the schools aren't nearly as good as they can be. We know that they're not as good as certain other schools. We know that our children are being negatively impacted. That's an emotional trauma because
mhm,
we have to carry that when we have to teach our kids things that other communities may not have to teach their kids, whether it's dealing with the police or how to navigate just through society. um you know Walk with your head up, never um never avert your glaze, and all sorts of other nonsense. That's an emotional trauma that
yes,
we have to carry. And so listen, at some point in time, to say, hey, I need help carrying this weight, that doesn't mean that you're not strong. That just means, look, you have a recognition of the things that are really going on around you, and you're just doing what you have to do to fortify yourself. See, because it's not weak to say, I can't do it all. That's just realistic. And if you have any desire to try and do it all or to do a lot, then you have to say, look, I can't do it by myself. So what do I have to do so that I can do all of the things that I have to do? Um,
right.
and that's what we're talking about. When we're talking about Choose Life, the song, we're we're talking about, look, choosing life, doing what you have to do, talking to friends and family. Um, don't 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 fall victim to internet bullying. Um, you know, don't you know don't put a permanent solution on a temporary problem. It's all the same thing. I just did it in from my perspective as a lyricist and as a producer. I just created a song, but it's much bigger than the song. And in fact, let's be perfectly candid. this song hopefully is much bigger than DY McDaniel. So I'm hoping that, the song goes viral. Everybody's playing it and listening to it and da 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 da. And if my name is not mentioned, but every single person out there is talking about Choose Life, I'm a happy dude.
Mm.
I'm a happy dude, seriously, because as much as I would like the spotlight, just like anyone else in the entertainment business, so at some point in time, you have to recognize things are bigger than you, and this
Most
one is
it's
bigger than me.
always it's always bigger than you. And that's a lot of times artists, and shout out to every artist out there, a lot of the artists that are out there doing it independently. Shout out to the radio stations, shout out to heat seekers, shout out to
Absolutely,
everybody that's out there that's dealing with this music thing. You got to understand that it's bigger than you. It started bigger than you. It's bigger than you while you're here, and it's gonna be bigger than you after you're gone. We, you know,
so
we really don't understand that, and I think that's a lot of the problem. That's where our ego comes in, because the ego likes to think that it's bigger than your being, and that's not true. We all come from God. God is the biggest thing.
that's
So
true.
it's always bigger than us because it's His thought that's put in us. We're His thought.
Well
So
said, brother. Well said.
if everyone can, thank you. If everyone can really realize that, we'll do a lot better service to the world. And I think what you've done with your songs, which again, I think the most unique idea that I've ever seen, to put out the same song with two different versions, male and female. I thought that was like absolutely. How does that work? Like, so you wrote it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you basically just hired vocalists.
All right. Well, here's how it happened. I wrote the song, and it was important to me that I get it out.
Hmm.
The and out being 100% candid, it was first important to me that my daughters hear it. Because probably like most other parents, um, they pay slightly less attention to me than they do to everyone else.
Hmm.
So me sitting down and trying to talk to them about it would have one level of impact, but turning it into a song that they may listen to, I thought would have more of an impact.
Right.
So that was the the reason that we brought it to life at first. A very very talented vocalist. She and I are friends, and she's done a lot of reference work for me on other tracks. So she came in to do it, and then so we did that. And at some point in time, um, I started thinking it through, and I was like, "Yo, we need another version." Like, because sometimes dudes, and this is just maybe the way we're wired or whatever. We're more comfortable receiving information from guys, and
That's
so
true.
so I was like, all right, and like my boy, very very talented dude, and unfortunately, for contractual reasons, because he signed to a different label, um, he wanted to be a part of this. He felt it was really important, and so he came in and he did the male vocals, and I mean, I think he, I think he did an incredible job with the male vocals as well. Um, the so then we had two versions, and at some point in time, we made the decision, put out both,
Hmm.
because this is, the goal here is to help people, and
Right.
so we can do to help.
Yeah, that's it. You gotta help. Shout out to Renard Williams, by the way. He's one of the people. I got people on in different places, but
Oh
shout out to Renard. He said there's no substance in what's being played for the masses now, and I agree. And
yeah, so did I
Mr.
actually.
Renard Williams is probably one of the best lyricist rappers that I've ever witnessed in my day. Back in the day, we all started out together, and he was one of the most prolific rappers. And due to circumstances, some people don't get to be seen as widely as they need to be. And I think we mix that up with success. And that's another issue. Like, people don't understand the machine. Just because you're not out there as big as some people, that don't mean you're not as talented or don't have as much to say. But a lot of times we miss
Absolutely.
that, and we mistake that. And that in itself can drive a person to a depression, or because the industry is hard, success is hard in the world, and all of those things can drive people to a path of suicide, because I
Mhm.
know a few people that have done that. So I think what you're doing, Mr. McDaniels, is a great thing, and the fact that you even did it through music, and the fact that you split it up like that, um, I think you're onto something. What is next for you?
Wow. We have a few different things. So, uh, first up, I think at the beginning of the year, Stanley Brown, the producer, amazing producer, um, he and I are supposed to get in the studio and do a few things. As soon as we can get it scheduled, as soon as we can align schedules for after the new year. Rock Wilder. Um,
Oh,
so, yep, Rock Wilder and I, again, once we can find time, shout out to both of our lawyer, Mr. Jan Walden. So
oh, I
he,
know. Okay,
yeah, so
yeah,
yeah, facilitated that. So he and I are getting together to work on some stuff. And then Timberland, Timberland put or created something called the Beat Club
hmm,
recently. So
yes,
and so I was invited to join the Beat Club, Timberland's Beat Club as well. So we have that stuff going on, and so we have a few other projects that contractually I'm not able to speak about yet. So that's going on, and then I have my deal with A&E,
okay,
A&E Lifetime. So I'm working on projects for their movies and TV. So yeah, I've got quite a few things going on right now. But but let's be honest. If I get that call from Beyonce, well, we just gonna have to make room. We're gonna have to make that happen. So
but yeah. I was about to say something, and I forgot I'm live, but no, it's
well,
okay. No, I mean, hey, I'm Kevin said it. I say the things you think about. So, but another interesting thing, an artist just said, Reynard actually, he says he, as an artist, he long used his writing songs as his personal therapy,
oh,
and
absolutely.
and thank you. And he said, but that's not the same as someone actually listening, understanding where you may be in your head. But the fact that he actually used that as his personal therapy, and that's another thing too. We can learn to utilize our gifts as personal therapy to
Oh,
help us.
without
That's what
question.
you did.
Yeah, without question.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. The as I said at the beginning of the show, how I got into the music business was writing a song trying to get an ex girlfriend back.
Mm,
Um, so that was how I started it. But I think the second song, the third song, the probably song 2 through 20 were all love songs,
right.
basically getting all of that emotion out, and really trying to work through those sort of things. I mean, oddly enough, you asked one of the projects coming up. So right now, again, shout out to Jan Walden. Right now, her has I think like three of my songs, and I mean she's going through some things with her label right now. So those
Who
things
did you
are
just
on
speak
hold.
of? Could you say that
Her,
name again?
no, I said her.
The
Uh,
artist, her.
yes, the artist
Okay.
her. Right.
Okay.
So I think she has like three of my songs right now, and but she's going through some things with her label right now, so things are on hold. But the at the end of the day, those were all love songs that were all written to get like these emotions out. So you very definitely, as any type of artist, we're driven by emotion, and
Hmm.
so you know most of us use our art to get those emotions out. But
Yes.
true to Renard's point, um, and this is kind of what I was saying about the church. At the end of the day, the best, I think, my personal opinion, the best therapy comes from the professionals who know how to do it. They're not bringing their agendas in. They're not bringing judgment in. What they are bringing in, though, is education, knowledge, experience to help you understand what's going on inside of you, and then being able to help you have solutions to
Right.
get better. Because
Right.
one of the big things that I think people in our community and myself, quite frankly, one of the big things that scared me about therapy before I ever went into therapy was, oh my God, what happens if I go to therapy and they sort of pull that string and
Yes.
everything unwinds like on a sweater or something like and I really fall apart. That's exactly the opposite of what actually does happen in
Mm.
but over the years, man, I've talked to a lot of people who were contemplating going into therapy, and I've been shocked at how many people had that exact same thought that I had had. That, oh
Right.
my God, if they're going to take me apart and I'm going to fall apart once I go in. Nope, it's exactly the opposite.
It's exactly the opposite. What happens is the pieces that don't put you together is what falls off, and you start becoming whole of everything that's positive. Like
Exactly.
those pieces that keep you in that place is what falls apart, not
Yes.
you, and it leaves you with the wholesomeness. And I think
Yes. Like that
that's what
word.
people. Oh, thank you. And I think that's what people are afraid of. They think they're gonna fall apart. Somebody's gonna know all their business and da da da. But the thing is, everything that falls is somewhere there for someone to catch it. There's a net. Therapy is a net, and
Yes.
and it catches it and it holds you together. And
Well,
everything that don't belong there is what goes. Yeah.
yeah, it's like I'm not a gardener or anything like that, but it's kind of like what they do in gardens.
Hmm.
Like they weed off all the bad stuff
Yep.
so the good stuff can grow bigger and stronger.
That's right.
And that's really what it is. And so whether it be therapy or even if it's not formal therapy, let's take baby steps here. Let's take
Okay.
baby steps. There are going to be some people that are listening to this interview and they're not quite ready to go to therapy. That's fine. Let's start with, hey, let's go back to the song. Talk to your friends and family. At least talk to someone. Let people know that you're in distress. You're hurting. Whatever that pain is, talk to someone. I mean, listen to Choose Life. I mean, seriously, listen to Choose Life. Um, the the song is very, it's uplifting and it's encouraging, but it's real. Like it says, like another part of the song says, look, we all go through good and bad days, you know,
Mhm.
and that's true. We got to acknowledge that, because if we don't acknowledge that we all go through good and bad days, for the folks who are going through bad days, they think that it's just them or they did something wrong, or like I tell my kids, I want to expose them to a whole bunch of things, but I'm not a big fan of reality TV because it's
Mm.
too fake, and I think it makes too many
It's
people.
too fake.
It's too fake. Come on, look,
Yeah.
because like if you, I've seen, and I'm not joking about this, I've seen intelligent, well-educated people, worldly people who've been around the world, who've done things. They will watch reality TV or get on social media, and I mean these people that have stuff. They got money, they got prominence, they got whatever, and they start feeling bad about their situations
Yeah.
because they're sitting there like with a steady diet of social media and reality TV, going, why am I feeling bad? Why am I going through difficulties? And I'm looking at them like, are you crazy? Everybody goes through difficulties. We all have good and bad days. They
Mhm.
just don't show it. Like that. I mean, I'm making this up, but that person that goes, oh, my boyfriend just sent me 3 dozen roses. Yeah, that's great. But what you didn't say was, because you caught him in bed with your cousin. See,
Right.
you know, to see, people don't put the bad stuff out there. And
Right.
if you don't understand that, then and all you see is good, 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 and you sitting there like, but why am I going through distress? Well, there must be something wrong with me. No, it's no. Like you talking about like false advertising. No, they're going through bad stuff too. They just ain't telling you.
Right.
So like that's why I put it in the song. We all go through good and bad days. That sort of humanizes, hopefully, it humanizes um your struggles, your trials and tribulations, um, because we all have them,
Right.
and the as bad as other people's judgment is, worst judgment is when we judge ourselves wrongly.
That's right.
See, and we absolutely do, um, and it's on we're not going to be able to fix all the world's ills here. Okay, let's
That's
just
right.
be real. We're not. But to the extent that Choose Life can help um, humanize a person's situation or normalize a conversation about mental health or, um, you know, God forbid, for that child is actually thinking about ending their own life, if Choose Life can like help one child go, you know what, let me go talk to somebody before I tie this belt around my neck,
That's right.
or before I take these pills, or hey, you know what, um you know he said in the song, like we all go through good and bad days, you know um hold on, don't cave into the pain.
Hmm.
Well, wow, okay, um, maybe I shouldn't cave into the pain here, or you know, um, for the person who looks at suicide and never said, you know what, that is a permanent solution to a temporary problem, because most of us realize, if we're really thinking it through, most of the stuff that gets us down, and come on, let's be honest, sometimes we as individuals get really knocked on our behinds. Okay, some stuff is big, not everything is small. Sometimes we get knocked on our behinds, but we if you've lived long enough, you realize you get back up again.
Right.
You need to give yourself that time, that space, that grace to get back up again. And see, but if you put that permanent solution in place, i.e., suicide, well, you've not given yourself that opportunity to get back up again. You see, and
Right.
see, that's why I put that line in the song. So, but again, I honestly believe it came from a divinely inspired place, because in any other setting, I would think, wow, this song's a bit heavy-handed, but the song doesn't feel heavy-handed. I
Right.
mean, so it actually, you sit there and bop your head to it and go, okay. But almost every single word in that song is purposeful.
Hmm. Every single word in that song is purposeful. That was excellent. Mr. McDaniel, please let everyone know exactly where they can listen to the song, because I know it's available everywhere, but tell everyone where they can go find you, find the song, and this whole machine that you're pushing, choosing life. I think everyone should witness that. So please let us
Well,
know.
thank you. Well, let's see. You can definitely hear it on YouTube. The video is out on YouTube. You can follow me on YouTube at DY McDaniel 16. You can follow me on SoundCloud, um, or IG. All of those at DY McDaniel 16, just like it is on the screen right there. Um, you can download the song at, or excuse me, you can get the song at Amazon, Apple Music, Spotify, um, YouTube Music, pretty much any of the main places that you go. But let's start out with, just go to YouTube and just listen to or check out the video at, just type in Choose Life. The song will come up, and let's just go from there. So, and final point, I'm sorry, we are, because I'm hoping the song goes viral. God willing, the song goes viral. But even with that, there's but so much a song can do. So, a portion of the proceeds will be donated to Samaritan, and Samaritan is a global organization that is focused on suicide prevention. And so, a portion of the proceeds are going to be donated to them, because they will be able to put that money to good use and help people who are in distress. as well as they have a 24-hour day hotline, so
Right.
people can call and talk to people who need help, and that's at the New York chapter is SamaritanNYC.org.
Okay.
So please, people, support the song. Thank you, but more importantly, if you need help, reach out to friends, family, Samaritan, whomever.
And
So
Mr. McDaniel, with everything that you're doing, you have an interview right after this. So I'm getting messages that you are on
oh,
for another
oh yeah,
interview.
yep.
So I
I'm
would like
sorry.
to say, everyone, please go check out DY McDaniel's Choose Life. That is his moniker right now. You can hashtag Choose Life. He's doing wonderful things. And make sure you check us out again. Check us out on the site to know when Kev Talk is coming back. Shout out to Heat Seekers. Shout out to the radio station. Shout out to Jada Records. Shout out to Alvin Agarad. Shout out to Calvin Films. Back to Black. Everybody. We are here always. And again, I'm Yes Kevin Said It. I say the things that you think about because we don't want to say it, but we need to say it now.
Yes,
So
sir.
thank you, Mr.
And,
Down. You have a great day. And thanks everyone for joining us.
well, thank you for having me, Kevin, and thanks to Heat Seekers, and happy holidays, everyone. And for real, thank you. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be here and talk about the song today. So
Yes, sir. Thank you. And you have a great evening.
thank you too, sir. Stay
Bye
well.
bye.